Hush, Ituma.
A dwarven woman, dressed in skins and hides, leans against the road marker. Her face is turned out, her eyes darkened by a thick strip of face paint. She's sharpening a bone arrowhead with a scrimshaw-handled knife. Her attention, however, is focused on a bare figurine between her feet. A large, white-furred fox standing at her heels looks up at your approach.
Easy, Itumak. It's not him.
Leave. A well-groomed man steps through the hall with a confident swagger, a smug grin etched on his face, flanked by 5 other hard-looking individuals. One of his companions eyes you for a moment before spitting chew at your feet. Another put come wandering in, I see. Just know that bonds of giant slayers run things around here and you'll be fine. Never heard of them. You have now. Stick around to Finch Bay and you will again. Plenty of bounties to go around. But there's a reason the giant slayers get the lion's share. Remember that. A voice bellows from across the hall. Enough jabberbine! You gonna do the job or talk about it?
Reenan's right. The coin ain't going to collect itself. See you around, pup.
Don't stand on ceremony. State your business.
Tell me about the dozens. Good men and women, trying to walk in the footsteps of great men and women. We're a loose association of warriors and expeditionaries in the Briarwood. Not as fancy as the Crucible Knights, mind you, but at least we remember our roots.
Go see Osric. He's usually got something.
This is
How do you do?
What can this humble servant of the Republic do for you? What do you do here? As the Valiant Ambassador, my job is to ensure trade with Briarwood remains strong and profitable. If there's anything else, I'm returning to my duties. Okay.
Yes?
As you approach the dead man, you can feel faint traces of his soul lingering. A stunned uncertainty holding it in place. When you near, without warning, the soul hurries to you, as though you are a solitary light in the dark globe of this place, come to usher it away. Its essence invades your consciousness. You are in a different body now, walking deeper in the catacombs, cloaked in a dark robe with a mask pulled over your face. You are in a different body now, walking deeper into the catacombs, cloaked in a dark robe with a mask pulled over your face. You're following a familiar path along the canal, heading to a room built around a statue of a figure wearing a robe much like yours. Others await, clothed in hoods and shadows. Ahead is another figure dressed like you, traveling in the same direction. You don't know his name, and that's how it's supposed to be. Out of the darkness, something monstrous grabs the other figure. You turn to flee, but find yourself face to face with a troll. The panic pounding through your brain is interrupted by razor-edged teeth and claws. You snap yourself out of the dead man's memory. The corpse lies on the damp and grimy ground. His hood and mask are missing, and his clothes are shredded.
I shall.
Well?
A lone figure in tattered robes shuffles across the chamber, muttering under its breath. As you approach, the figure halts and swivels its head towards you. Its haggard visage is a labyrinth of wrinkles and sores, overgrown by a moss-like beard.
What's this? Who disturbs Helix's work?
What are those creatures behind you?
Just a few personal projects, sorry souls, stuck in their mortal shells. Their flesh is as dead as mine, though their minds are not as well maintained. They flock to me like worms on drakes. They're not half as intelligent, but they serve for amusement. If there's nothing else, be on your way.
What are you doing here?
Research, a hodgepodge of animancy and necromancy. I have peace and quiet and an abundant supply of subjects. Go, and do you thank your gods I'm not hungry?
Well? Of course.
Following your lead.
Yes?
Following your lead.
Yes.
Yes?
Well?
I have them!
The soul prowls within the bloodstone like a caged stale gare. It's filled with a fierce, restless energy. Who are you? You see an image in your mind of a woman in heavy leather armor bearing twin daggers. Next to her is a man, young and handsome, who calls her Roanna. The vision shifts to a windswept plain next to a lake. 50 men and women in matching leathers lay dead, their bodies contorted and deformed by some sinister sorcery. Rowena falls among them, her body collapsing next to the young man you saw earlier. She's too weak to speak, but the name Dalton appears in your mind. A lone figure strides across the battlefield, barely bothering to step over the corpses. His eyes are filled with an unnatural light, and fixed on Rowena. He reaches out to her, and what little life remained in her body departs. When he takes the amulet from her neck, you feel her anguished soul trapped within. With a final contemptuous glance at the fallen, Dalton, the man, reparts. What do you want? You see an image of the amulet shattering and the soul rising and dissipating among the stars. Farewell. In front of you looms the ghostly hollow image of the man who was present at your awakening. He casts a pale, sickly light in the dank corridor as he regards you.
You are from Kraytoon, my boy.
Only recently.
A remarkable city. Truly one of the most impressive we have encountered outside of our own. Many exceptional people who have joined our cause come from Kraytoon. What made you decide to join our order?
I went through dark times. Nothing made sense. That all changed when your order came to my homeland.
Little makes sense in the false contexts much of the world has lived under for so long. It is by the mercy of the gods that our faith has been able to reach so many of the heathen in more recent times. Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen?
I am.
Well?
What are you doing here? You don't look like one of that masked lot.
You're right, but then again, I go wherever I want. Aloth falters and brings a hand to his forehead, taking a staggering step forward and coughing and
Back,
spluttering.
you clod! Those hooded fiends are nigh to be trusted!
Probably not, but that's no reason to be Ayla, are you unwell? It's fine. I'm nothing. This is probably the best place to linger, you know. Crumbled at your feet lies the body of a woman wearing a dark robe with an insignia revealing a key. As you approach her body, feelings of rage assault you. The dead woman's voice howls in your ears, and her lingering consciousness rends at yours. Her essence tingles through your bones and membranes. It fills the space between your ears and behind your eyes, clawing deeper into your core. You see a gathering of men and women wearing robes like hers, their faces hidden behind masks. One by one they approach, whom they know as an acolyte, and she places her hand on each of their foreheads. She tests them with ritualistic questions, and they answer that their oath is sealed by the leaden key. She asks them of their tasks. She gives them new ones, all without a word. Her essence flares, fighting to boil your blood, burn your memory, and splinter your bones from within. Yet between its strike, you see a flash of something else. A tower, a prisoner, and a ruin. You funnel all of your concentration into a single effort of will, a sharp point that pins the raging soul in place like an insect. With the thing under your control, you're able to examine it and the three thoughts swirling inside. Examine the tower. You see a palimpsest of a neighborhood. Run-down estates are cobbled around a cemetery and an ancient tower. Savage shapes prowl the streets in the tower. A man hunches over a strange mechanism. You can't see him clearly, but there's something unnatural about him. Somewhere nearby, you see a woman with a scar over her heart. You understand that she has something he needs. You also see a door at the base of the tower, a seemingly impenetrable slab of stone and copper. Then the acolyte reveals the invisible split between the perfectly matched halves, and you understand how the copper veins convert into a command into action. You know how to open the door. Next in your mind, you see a building, magnificent with trellises and tiles, and located on a pristine boulevard. The wealthy and learned stroll in and out, trading knowledge for coin. Yet it also houses misery and madness. Somewhere within its rotten core sits a man, his hair matted but his eyes alert. He watches and waits, a prisoner by choice. And finally, the acolyte's vision takes you out of Defiance Bay into a town in the wilderness with a water mill. A signpost on one of the paths reads Deerford. Several figures huddle together, shrouded in cloaks and hoods. An image of the ruins suddenly looms in your mind. Two skeletal effigies flank a cleft in a mountainside.
As you wish. Yes?
A moment, please. I feel I should explain myself. About my episode in the catacombs. There's something I should have told you earlier.
So tell me now. I meant no harm. I thought I could keep it to myself. that when we resolved the matter of your soul, we would address my problem.
I also have an awakened soul. But unlike yours, mine is a presence that shares my senses and my skin, making herself manifest at the most unwelcome times. I'm sorry. I've tried to learn to control Isilmir. I've gotten stronger, but so has she.
Tell me about her.
Artless, uncouth, a creature of rash impulses and feeble faculties. She wags her impertinent tongue when she should listen. Aye, this one's fit to boil. Hard to get this gaff over anything tisn't to do with books and spell speak.
I have none of her memories. Barath spared me that much. But her coarse manners and intolerable hill speak suggest a provincial from a very, very long time ago. She tends to surface a hair's breadth from conflict, when the fuse is burned down and teeth are on edge, and when she shows up, she doesn't stop to gauge a situation. She just acts. Sounds like you could take a few cues from her. Cues or vulgarisms. I've had to live with that hayseed for years. There's nothing to be learned from her, nothing civilized anyway. Why didn't you say something sooner?
I learned to keep her a secret a very long time ago. Those with awakened souls are shunned, mistrusted. And after your experience with Meowald, I'm certain you can see why. You need to be careful.
Is this going to be a problem?
Merely an annoyance. Although, Defiance Bay is said to have an entire institution dedicated to the study and cure of soul-related ailments. Since our journeys have already brought us to the city, perhaps we could speak with someone there.
You need to learn to deal with your own issues.
Of course. As I said, it won't become a problem.
It's good to be on the road again. A wanderlust is nothing rare in the people of Rauatai, but often I think myself alone in loving the land as much as the sea. What shall we see next, I wonder?
You're being hunted by the Leaden Keys. So it seems. It's all rather absurd. What harm could I possibly do them by finding this text? Perhaps they don't like Rauatai? You don't seem worried about this. They haven't had much luck. The last one came up on me at a dig site, slipped on a muddy beam. I tried to catch him, I should think. But he went right over the side and down 100 feet. I'm not really sure what he had in mind, but I doubt that was it. Who are these people? I thought it only fair to delve into their activities in turn. I found word of a leaden key. But past that, it was all ravings and superstitions. I might as well have gone around asking whether someone had ever seen a whale flying through the air. Some might well tell me yes, but the validity of their accounts is questionable. What is this book you're looking for?
The Tanvi Oratoa. It's not really a book. It's been passed down over the years in the form of a chant. I actually found it a little strange at first, seeing it set down in stone. It's not quite the same as a song of worship, though we have paeans to the gods as well. More a kind of moral guide. It gives us something to aspire to. The, model of a virtuous citizen of Rauatai.
And you think the Angwithans were the true authors?
I don't know that the distinction is necessarily important. Rauatai has a long history, and our people have come from many different places. It matters less who wrote it than that I have found pieces of the verses all around the world. Wherever it came from, it will be Rauatai that decides what becomes of it. All the races and peoples of our kingdom coming together to create a great empire. You see, then, that I am loyal in my way.
Why look for it out here?
There have been arguments as to the chant's true interpretation, new translations even. But any rendition of it I find in the ruins of Engwith will predate those translations by 2,000 years. And finding it here also proves that we still have much to gain from trading with other cultures. I'd be lying if I said I'm not looking forward to seeing the look on everyone's faces when I get back. But in the long term, I just think that we can learn a lot from the Engwithians. A civilization like that is something to aspire to. A model for Rauatai as a whole, and not just its people. And I want to prove that all of this is worthwhile. Traveling, seeing the world for what it is. It's been so different from sitting in the Chanter Hall and studying books.
You came all this way just to win an argument.
More or less. It wasn't a popular theory when I suggested it. The idea that we shared the Tanvi Oratoha with some older culture, I mean, doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't help that my family is from the Deadfire Islands. If I had a copper pond for every chanter who suggested that it's just not in my nature to conquer. My siblings, my parents, they make up for it. They build walls and cannons and ships. I've tried to explain. It isn't that I think those things aren't necessary, but if Rauatai closes itself off from trade, turns on its own people over tradition, we will fall behind, and then we'll be the ones getting conquered. I think my father tries to understand it.
As you wish.